Recruiting hasn't been good. The talent's not as good as we saw specifically last week against Georgia. Another thing that's changed is Dan Mullen's attitude. And this is something that hasn't been talked about a lot.
Sure.
Dan Mullen's, anytime you talk to him, last year, when everything is good, he runs his mouth, and that's fine. And I've said it consistently on the show, whatever you are in life, just be consistent. If you're going to consistently talk, just be the person that always talks. And now that Dan Mullen's losing a lot, his attitude's changed. He doesn't want to say anything to the media. I mean, literally 1-2 word answers. And I think he's trying to find a way out the door.
Absolutely.
So if Dan Mullen leaves, question one is who replaces him at Florida? And two, Terry, I know people are going to go freak out when I say this, but I think that Dan Mullen wants to take a shot at the NFL. I know Rick Neuheisel went on SiriusXM and mentioned that. But I want to bring this up. Cliff Kingsbury was not a winning coach in college football. Cliff Kingsbury had Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech and did not win because Cliff Kingsbury was excellent with X's and O's, and you see how he's chalking it up at the Arizona Cardinals right now. He only has one loss, one of the best teams in the NFL. I think Dan Mullen takes a move and will try to go to the NFL. I don't think Dan Mullen comes back next year, and I think that's the first time I didn't really come to that realization until this week. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, again, what I was saying, I've seen the attitude before with other coaches. You saw it in Florida, in Gainesville. Will Muschamp, he was exhibiting, didn't want to be there anymore, and had just his time was over. He was attitudinal. He had a bad attitude and, struck out at the media. Jim McElwain. Jimbo Fisher didn't lose to the degree, but Jimbo Fisher, his last 2 years at Florida State, he did not want to be there. He was, belligerent, dug his heels in. For whatever reason, is it because the college game has changed so much? Now, to Mullen's credit, the college game has really changed everything around the game the last 2 or 3 years. Maybe that has totally turned him off. I don't know. The portal and the constant recruiting and the job of a college coach really sucks now. I mean, the things they don't like doing have been amplified. Somewhere, though, Mullen, midseason a year ago, 3/4 of the season, you started seeing it. You're right. His attitude and his wackiness. He's had, if you start putting the incidents he's had, weird things, crazy things that he's had or he's done at Florida, he's had 2 on-field major confrontations with other head coaches, Derek Mason at Vanderbilt and Drinkwitz at Missouri. He's dressed up like Darth Vader at a press conference. I get it. It was Halloween night. Dan Mullen doesn't have that fun cocktail party personality. So that was way out of character. It was a fun thing. He's got young kids, and I get it. He said, hey, it's Halloween night. That's not his personality. Boy, he's had some strange stuff. Something isn't right. He does not want to be at Florida. His verbal and nonverbal communication, I think, I saw that a couple of weeks ago. And some people on Facebook got on me a little bit. And I said, hey, I hope I'm wrong. But I don't think it can be turned around either. You look at Mullen, okay, he's wrapping up year 4. The biggest issue with Mullen, other than the fact his team quit on him tonight, I know they had a lot of players that were not playing. Some illness took over the team, a couple of injuries. That's fine. Maybe he was playing some second stringers. Okay, they may not be talented as first stringers, but you can still give effort. You can still give – they didn't give any effort, so you saw him quit. Going back, though, the reason I don't think it's just going to miraculously change, even if he replaces a couple of coaches, look at his first 3 years and his recruiting going out of those first. Year 1, they won 10 football games. He increased the win total by 6. The arrow was pointing up. Wins 10 games, arrow pointing up. Still didn't have a big-time recruiting season. When I say big-time, you got to finish in the top 6 or 7. Right? If you want to be a big boy, you got to finish in the top 6 or 7. So 10 wins, the arrow pointing up, coming out of year 1, still not a great recruiting class. Year 2, they take it to 11 wins, right? They go to 11 wins. And the arrow's pointing way up again. They still don't recruit at a high level. Year 3, less games because of COVID. And I know they lost a few at the end and it got sideways. Year 3, they won the East. And Dylan, Florida last year had the most dynamic, sexy offense in the country. Everybody around the country stopped and watched the Florida offense. They were so dynamic. He had that working for him year 3, still couldn't recruit coming out of year 3. So why would you think anything is going to change dramatically with his worst season of 4 and the wheels like they're falling off? I just don't think changing a couple of coaches is going to do it. And if Dan Mullen kept the job, when does he change coaches? Most likely Sunday after the final game, November 27th. That would be November 28th on that Sunday. Signing day now is the third Wednesday in December. You got 18 days. 18 days if you change out some coaches. Good luck cobbling something together. A lot of things just say it is time, Florida and Dan Mullen part ways.
When it comes to recruiting, and I know you talked about this with Matt Hayes on your show on 1010XL today, recruiting is either in you or it's not. And Dan Mullen has never been a recruiter.
Yeah.
So for the people that think, and let's just say for the sake of argument, that he somehow stays at Florida one more year. For the people that think he's just going to turn it on a notch, that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
Number one. 2, I know, and I'm going to go deep into this and this is something you've always talked about. Florida and facilities has been so far behind. If you look at what Florida is compared to Georgia, compared to Alabama, Georgia and Alabama spend $3 million each in recruiting. Florida spends about $1 million. Georgia and Alabama have their own football-only facilities. In fact, almost every Power 5 school has a football-only facility. Florida is one of the few that don't. How much of a factor do you think that factors into recruiting? I mean, is that reasonable to say that Dan Mullen isn't recruiting at as high of a level to Georgia, Alabama because of facilities?
It's a factor. I don't think it's a massive factor. It is a factor, and the football only facility is just about done. It looks like I've ridden by it recently, and I mean, gosh darn, I don't think they're at the punch out stage, but they're close. Unless the timeline changes, I'm hearing spring of 22, May-ish. So it's probably close enough that you can sell it now to guys that are coming in or you're trying to get to come in. Yes, it was a factor. Winning big, a dynamic coach, all that plays into it. And again, the facility is right around the corner. It's right around the corner. I don't think that is a huge factor. It's a factor, but I don't think that's a huge factor. As you said, you kind of are who you are. And still, the head coach in college, they wear every hat. It's so important that you get the right guy in place. And recruiting is free agency. Recruiting is the draft. Recruiting is everything in college athletics. It's also odd to me. You are who you are. I get it. Your personality may not just go into the living room and wow people. But it seems like Mullen just thinks he can out X's and O's. Remember, he cut his teeth with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, Lord knows, Urban Meyer showed him. He went out and got the Percy Harvins and the Tim Tebows and the Pounceys and the Lewis Murphys. I mean, Dan Mullen had his greatest success because Urban Meyer brought really good players with really good X's and O's are hard to beat. Real hard to beat.
Terry, you're the AD at Florida. Who's your number one target to come to Florida?
Right now, who's out there? It's just a pot shot. It's got to be somebody dynamic. The University of Florida needs dynamic. They don't need milquetoast. Dan Mullen is as milquetoast as you can get. I mean, you are who you are. Your personality is who you are. So you shouldn't try and change who you are. But if Dan Mullen was a color, he'd be clear. He's very, very milquetoast. Florida needs, think about it, the two dynamic coaches that have worked at Florida, Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer, very dynamic, very, very dynamic guys. Steve Spurrier gets a bad rap. The knock on Spurrier was he didn't love recruiting. Spurrier was crazy like a fox. Remember, let's get back. Steve Spurrier in the 90s had the sexy offense. Everybody wanted to watch that offense. A lot of people wanted to watch hoping they'd get beat, but everybody wanted to watch the Spurrier offense. It was cutting edge. And very early into Spurrier's tenure at Florida, I don't know if he did it crazy like a fox, but word got out that Spurrier had an attitude, didn't love recruiting, and he also didn't want you to come. If you didn't want to come to Gainesville and be a Gator, he didn't want you. Now, he used that to his advantage because that got out there. So the 5-star big-time players that they wanted, when Steve Spurrier made the call or went into the living room, that player went, wow. It's understood that Coach Spurrier doesn't do a whole lot of recruiting. So, man, if he's on the phone with me, if he's in my living room, wow, he used that. I think he was crazy like a fox like that. Maybe he didn't have the most dynamic personality to go win the living room, but he said, hey, man, let me get this message out that, you know what, I only chase big-time players. If I call you, you're special. And he used it, and he used it well.